Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wednesday, April 15th, 2020 episode of Pete's Power Play, hosted by the one, the only, King of the Ice himself, Philly Pete, and we are live, as usual, on 12 Ounce Sports Network and Zingo TV. This show, as usual, is sponsored by MyBookie. Please make sure when signing up for an account for MyBookie, use the promo code 12 Ounce Sports. There is a lot of, looks like a Nicaragua games going on, under 20 games going on. A lot of under 18, 19, and 20 year old soccer games going on at the moment. Belarus, Sweden club friendlies, and none other than yours truly, the casino. We could drop some money on some blackjack, roulette, 3-card poker, whatever it may be to get you through this pandemic and just to have some fun. Also, when signing up for MyBookie, like I said, please make sure you use the promo code 12 Ounce Sports, 12OZ Sports, all one word, and you could be ready to rock and roll. Next up, Seat Giant as well. Now, when we do have sports again, like I always say on this show all the time, since what we've been going through for the last month, when sports do come back and when we can have fans go in the stadium safely and healthy, please make sure you guys check out Seat Giant. Make sure that this is the exact games that you want to go. Take the family out, friends out, wives out, make it whatever it may be. But when choosing for a live sporting event, make sure you use Seat Giant to get the first row and everything. And last but not least, the main man itself, Zingo TV. When signing up for an account for Zingo TV, make sure you use the promo code 12 Ounce, 12OZ, and each and every one of you will be streaming live all these fantastic and amazing shows that we can provide for you and keep everything going day by day, get you through the day, and that is us as being part of the 12 Ounce Sports Network crew and team, and we will do everything that we can to keep you guys rocking and rolling and keeping you positive and happy and give you the best entertainment that we can. So we have a lot of good things ahead of us, and what better way to start it than with some iRacing, and it's a lot of stuff in the works that we have coming for you guys, and we want obviously we want you to stay tuned and keep doing what you're doing and watching our live shows. It's what keeps us sane, from time to time, and especially during these days. So we are very, very happy. So yesterday I spoke about the conclusion and the rest of what I thought the playoffs, my playoff scenarios, and who I thought would raise a cup, and I did mention that my boys, the Philadelphia Flyers, would hoist the Stanley Cup trophy, and that's how I said. That's what I said, and Flyers versus Vegas, the Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup Finals, was basically the way I saw things. Maybe some of you saw it differently, but this is just the way Philly Pete saw the NHL playoffs, and I just like this based on the way the teams have been playing. I'm going with the hottest teams right now, and one was Vegas on the West, and the East was the Flyers. And like I said, the Flyers were my pick to win the Stanley Cup. So there you have it. So the simulated Philly Pete NHL bracket belongs to the Philadelphia Flyers, and that basically is the yesterday's show. So today I have on board again none other than Philly Pete's other half. I like to call her the queen on the ice herself. So here she is, none other than Gina Tucci. Gina, welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing, Philly Pete?
I'm doing great. How was your? How's everything else going?
Everything's going good. Slowly but surely getting through this.
Good. All right. So now that Gina is back on the air with us, we are going to talk about one of our favorite shows that we've been watching on HBO lately, and the third season just came out, I believe, a month and a half ago. It's about 5 episodes in. None other than the robot world of Westworld. We finished I saw the first 2 seasons. Gina didn't see it at all, so this was another binge show that we wanted to watch, right?
Yes.
So with that, we did. I saw the first 2 seasons. She has now. We started up again. We saw the first 2 seasons in its entirety. I think we killed the first 2 seasons in about, what would you say, like a week, if that?
Maybe less.
Probably a couple days. Again, there's just so much that we can do during these times. So Westworld today will be the topic of the show for today. So season 1. First off, I want you to get your insight first before I talk, and just coming from your side of things. So, what did you think about season 1. First off, who is your favorite character or characters of Westworld, and explain why?
I like Dolores and Maeve.
Okay.
And the reason I like Dolores is that, of course, we all know she's the original host. And, of course, she's a robot. And you see her, it starts out and you see her going through this, that she's in this Westworld. But we don't find out they're robots yet. And you find out that they're on this loop. Like, they do the same thing every day. Like, she goes to the store, she has her bag, she drops the can and finds Teddy, her boyfriend, and so you're thinking that this is going to be the only thing that you're seeing, but it's really not. And then you figure out that it's this literally a West world that these people are controlling from, the skies beyond. And you find out that it not only is it this, it's a theme park that I would say, wealthy guests can go into and basically do anything and not be killed, so to test their own limits. So there's a lot of stories going in circle here. There's the big circle of the season going on, but then there's each character has their own really in-depth story. So the reason why I like Dolores is you can see her throughout the season 1 change. And I always look for that, how is this character going to develop, or what struggles is this character going to have, and how do they respond? So I think that's what really captivates an audience. So with her, it goes, she starts as this meek, mild farmer's daughter who, is just trying to make her farm work. And then you find out that by the end, you're like, who is this? She's badass. She figures out that she repeats the same day, basically, over and over again. And she's like, hey, wait a minute, something's not right here. So, and then you see her a lot talking to Bernard, who's another great character. Kind of like they're touching base, for lack of a better term. They kind of catch up on, what's going on in her life, or if anything's like, it really, he's trying to figure out if there's anything wrong with her. But through this conversation, I feel like she remembers previous conversations, and then they start to pick up on that, and then that starts her whole revolt. So I like her story. I like her change and her dynamic, and just how she becomes really, really a vital part in this whole revolt. The leader, basically, of the whole revolt. And basically, she takes on a new consciousness and is this, the badass Wyatt. Now, the other character, Maeve, who is, she's, I guess, a prostitute in like a saloon or something, a woman of the evening, I guess you could say. So, and then I like her character because she with her she was already witty to begin with, but then as after the day goes, or after they get shot or hurt, they need to come in for repairs. So they come into this like mock surgery where these people shut them down, and they shut down the robots, that is, and they get fixed. And then somehow she is awake, and then she manipulates the two young men who are working on fixing her up, basically. They manipulate them into changing her consciousness to super witty, super smart, and just be all-knowing. And then that really takes a turn on her, because you find out that she had a daughter in a previous life in this West world, and then her whole objective is to find her daughter, and which turns out that she was a mother and she had a daughter in a previous Westworld life, and they had their struggles, and they were killed, and she was killed. But then it's just weird how she has these flashbacks, and really it's interesting to find how they deal with this and how they figure out, yeah, that's right, I did do that, but how did I get there? How did I get here? And why don't I have a daughter at home? And it's a really great transformation of each of the characters.
Well, that's good. Yes, and then so on my point of view, for the first season, it's Bernard is definitely by far my favorite character for sure. A lot of twists and turns in both of these seasons. The first season, you get to a point where it's kind of like it's they go on a everyday schedule, I guess, and the whole point of Westworld is that these people, these hosts have no idea what's going on. Obviously, they're robots; they get created. You see what basically the building of where they're created. Now, some observation,
like a warehouse,
right?
Yeah.
Like a warehouse. So a lot of people are skeptical of where Westworld actually takes place. And now, the first season that was a question of mine. I remember saying, where is it actually taking place? You see a lot of people floating in water, and it's kind of like, okay, well, if people are floating on water, like it makes me think that the whole Westworld like headquarters is underground, like underwater, and which makes sense to me. So I did a little bit of digging and researching, and it came to the conclusion that that is the possible spot as to where the actual headquarters is underground. That's why people are floating to the top, and you see all those dead bodies that supposedly Bernard killed, and basically to back up Dolores. And so that was a main question of mine. Towards the end of the first season, you start getting glimpses of other worlds, which was crazy to me. You had Shogun World. You had a bunch of robots that were basically in the Shoguns, and they were samurais, and it's just a lot of like, internet. It was like an international feel. You had China, representation of China, Japan. Samurai swords. You had like a samurai army. Then you had the Indians. You had the Ghost Nation. They were called. You saw Ghost Nation. You saw Shogun World. You saw a bunch of animals. The Animal World. There was a specific world for different sort of category, which was that was a nice twist towards the end of season 1 as well. That you started to see when Maeve was coming in. Starting to like take over because she knew what was going on. And but reverting back to the beginning of the season, everyone is on a repeat. They all are programmed with a specific story. Dolores, that like Gina said earlier, that sweet, loving Southern woman, waking up every morning saying if she's in a dream or not. She sees her dad, who's also Peter Abernathy. That he's also a huge part of both seasons. He's just then the next day after he malfunctions because he's an old host, she wakes up the next morning and like nothing ever happened, and she sees a brand new dad, not the one that she's used to, but she continues on with the program of her story, which is crazy to me. So then we learn about Teddy, and it's the same thing, just nonstop. But Maeve is the one that is actually like the wild card factor of the first season. She was a prostitute. Okay, and then she starts to realize that everything is on a loop. And like Gina said, she had a story previously where she's looking for her daughter. Toward the end of the first season, you see her get into a train trying to go to the different specter of the park where she could find her daughter and locate her. However, she gets out. As she gets out, knowing she's probably still in this world somewhere that she wants to go back in and find her. But it gets to a point that now she's alive, and freeze all motor functions are no longer working. You can't even give her an analysis. She turns into what we call a witch in season 2, where it's a completely 180 spin. She's taking control of everybody, making this is why she also is a badass character. She had a previous, like I said, she had a previous life as a mother, taking care of this daughter. Now she's a prostitute. It's a brand new story. She sees her face in the beginning of Westworld, where your dreams are imagining of everything it could be. But she's not dumb. She's obviously one of the first to recognize everything. And then it just goes on and on from there. And then you see the fact that she does end up going back and finding her daughter, but it's a different mom.
Right.
And the daughter doesn't recognize her. Until she has puts her hand puts her hand on the daughter and say, bring my heart with you, and it kind of represents that with basically the other crews that we have, the Ghost Nation, where the head Indian of the tribe, he was a normal guy living his life. All this banks on from first season to second season, and you see the Indian guy with his wife, and it gets to a point where they're getting too close that they have to switch it up, and you see him, and now he's all of a sudden he gets turned into a bad guy, and then he's like, well, I need to find my wife again.
Yeah, he remembers her.
Right. So then he's starting to remember. Like, all these hosts are starting to remember their past and who they loved and what was actually close to their hearts. And Maeve was with the daughter, and Dolores, it was Teddy, and just and now you have the head of the Ghost Nation with his wife, and then finds the wife, and it's like, remember me, and she's, oh my God, and with the heart, and she remembers him like that. Then the next day you find out that she's back in like the refrigerator, I guess, where all the
storage,
yeah, exactly. And then she gets replaced by another woman, and he's like, this is not her. So he's onto it. So now he's onto it, and it just keeps going on and on from there. But to me, after the first season, when Ford basically creates his own story, is Dolores' story, for him to get shot at the end of the first season. We start to realize that it's kind of like everything was on set, was like a film, like a movie, because these are robots. You had like an audience watching everything, and the guests love it. I mean, the guests can't get hurt, they can't get shot, and we learn by Ed Norris's character, who's William the Black Hat. He's there because he gets so much excitement out of it. He gets shot, and it's a little rubber bullet that doesn't even hurt you. But yeah, it's just, you can go on and on about this. There's more or less, his antics was that he wants to like actually get hurt. He wants to show some blood. So at the end towards the end of the first season, you see, Clementine, who's also gets a badass role, and she has her own little army, and then she shoots him, and he's actually bleeding. You can see him smiling, like, all right, now the war is on. I can get hurt now, so now we're going to have a battle between guests and hosts. And that's what leads into the second season. And, Ford gets shot by Dolores at the end, and more or less, that's just how it ends. That's how the first season ends. But honestly, G, so what did you think about the first season compared to the second season? Like,
I thought the first season was deep, but then we watched the second season, and I was like, wait, what's going on? What story are we talking about? But what's interesting to see is that when we went into the Shogun world, it was, as you said, like from samurais, and there were geishas, dancers, who kind of represented the saloon, and Maeve's character, like there was like a head mistress, I guess she's called, who was supposed to be Maeve's character, and she had her own name, and she was kind of, like I said, the head mistress and taking care of all the younger girls. And then there was like a Clementine, like she was one of the ladies of the evening, and so there were other, but they're geishas, they're dancers. So, and then there's, the bad guy, and then there's the hero. So and Maeve, when they go to the Shogun world, Maeve is like, oh, this makes sense. This is me, you're me, but in another world.
Right.
You're just like, and as a viewer, you're like, wait, what is going on? This is wild.
Yeah.
But it was, so the second season, they're trying to, basically they're trying to escape Westworld, but they just don't know how. They first realize they're in a park, for lack of a better term. They realize that this world isn't real. So, and then Dolores is saying, like, not that she's being selfish, but she wants more for herself. She wants to she doesn't want to be offered another fake world. She wants to be offered a real world, and she wants to basically escape any part of Westworld. She doesn't want any part of it. She wants to be a real human.
Right.
So, and then what else happens? It's so much, and really it kind of just, it's a little bit, it's difficult to follow, but it's a good story.
Yeah, season 2 is just more it's more dark. It's more confusing. This is my second time seeing season 2, and there's still questions for me to say. And now you get introduced to Charlotte Hale, and she's Tessa Thompson, and her character, and she plays a huge part as well. And like I said, like you start season 2. Before I get into her, you start in the season 2 where they left off with season 1 where you're introduced to, like I said earlier, the Shogun world, the animal world. You see a bunch of the international sort of things, just basically to get everyone involved, which is nice to see from the producers of that show and the director. But like Gina said, you go into Shogun world, and you see, you have Hector's character, who's represented by one of the samurai guys, and then you have basically the other the blonde chick with the I guess the snake tattoo on her face is represented by another girl that has a bow and arrow, like another part of the samurai. She has the eye of the dragon. So they kind of like those characters from Shogun World represent the characters of the season 1 when you had Maeve, you had Hector, and the rest of the crew there. And basically, it's on the same set. It's the same set as Sweetwater, but it's more or less it's on the set of a Shogun area. So that's why they're like, oh, I remember this looks way too familiar. So everyone's starting to get it. But it's just at the end of the day, they try to help each other out. The mistress, they do a dance for the head Shogun, and she dies, she gets stabbed, and it's kind of like it relates to Maeve's character, and then you get more of a sense of what everything is going in that direction. You also see that Dolores or Teddy gets to a point where he's had enough of Dolores, and he to this day, like, he never will get it. Dolores said, you'll never understand, you'll never get it, because he can't. It's still, to him, he's still living every day in a loop. And once he got changed by Dolores, he was a different guy. He started killing people. That's not who he was. He wasn't that sweet.
Definitely
incredible.
More dark and dangerous.
Definitely. And at the end, I believe it was second to the last episode, he killed himself because he couldn't deal with it anymore.
But it was great that they showed Dolores' ability to change in other hosts, which obviously didn't happen.
Right.
That was unheard of with the hosts.
Well, yeah, and Maeve is like a witch, so she can she has just as strong powers as Dolores had.
So Maeve can actually control the other hosts, like through her mind.
Exactly what I was getting into. Yes. So she can, she can, basically control what other people want to do. So they were in danger. So you can explain, since you're already getting into it. Basically just say, how Maeve can read people's minds. So what exactly would happen? So we saw a few things.
So it was that they were about to be killed in the Shogun world, and Maeve had her back to the samurais, Maeve and the other Maeve from the Shogun world. Basically, were going to be executed with their back towards the samurais. And then Maeve used her mind control and had all the samurais kill each other. There
you go. So that's basically what her concept was. But then you get to a point where, first off, what'd you think of the rest of season 2?
It's difficult to understand because there's a lot of moving parts. And there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of backstories. They jump forward. They jump backward. And you're like, wait, are we real time? Or are we in Westworld time? Are we in Westworld previous time? Are we in real time? But they're thinking back. It's a little bit difficult to understand. Very entertaining. And I did very much like it a lot. And I'm looking forward to season 3.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll be starting season 3 soon. Bernard, on the other hand, like I said, one of my favorite characters. There's a lot going on with him. You see him blacking out and memorizing places to go. And at the end of the day, Ford does mention that everyone has their own, their own voice inside their head. And the whole time in season 2, the person that was talking, he thought Ford was talking to him the entire time, helping him out. Here, don't find Elsie yet. Just don't follow her yet. She's going to betray you. You run into 3 bad guys, and he's like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't kill people. Next thing you know, there's a P90 in his hand, and he's ready to unleash it. And here he thinks it's Ford the entire time. but you realize that the whole time, like, he was talking about himself. He was the one. It was his voice talking to himself about how to control and maintain situations. But I want to get into Charlotte Hale real quick, and she runs it all, and a huge twist at the end where he basically, like, Bernard blacks out. He kills Dolores and realizes, like, what he did was, like, all right, I need her. Mm-hmm. So he turns Dolores into Charlotte. And Charlotte's the one that kills all the control guys in there, like her crew. Like, she destroys them all. She comes back to life as this badass Charlotte Hale inside the body. So now you have Bernard, and now you have Charlotte. Season at the last episode, like I said, Charlotte builds another Dolores. So then you see Bernard waking up, if he's in a dream, and it's Dolores. And here it's the one that Charlotte created, which means that Bernard was recreated because Charlotte then killed Bernard. Remember that? Mm-hmm. So now you have a recreated Bernard, you have a recreated Dolores, and then you have Charlotte Hale, who is supposed to be Wyatt / badass Dolores.
It's a lot to handle.
It's a lot to handle, especially this season. I thought this season was so much more confusing than the first season, by far, because you're introduced to way more people. You have Ghost Nation. You have everybody. The time warp opens up to a new world, basically, where you're free of everything. Mm-hmm. Remember that?
Yes.
And then here you see Clementine, who's also, like, gets this sort of, like, freak of nature killing spree where
she's like an assassin.
Right. Do you want to explain that real quick?
Well, I don't even really know. I think they figured out that she in a previous life was a assassin. I guess in her previous Westworld life, she was an assassin, and in the current Westworld, she's one of the ladies of the evening in the saloon. But they figure out that she's just, she has these, like, martial arts skills. She's got gun skills. She could ride a horse. She's very obedient. She doesn't talk much in the second season. She just kind of acts. And you're like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
And we didn't even get to the hosts copying the guests being copied.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
It's good entertainment, though. It's on HBO.
Yeah, so basically Clementine, like, runs through the line. People are trying to get to this other side, this other time warp where they're free of everything. There's no violence. So she's running through, and everyone starts battling each other and killing each other. So, you see Maeve trying to save her daughter and the current mother, and they go through the warp, and now everyone that's going through is safe. You have the Ghost Nation, they're all safe. But here, they're actually killed. They're committing suicide. It's just a cliff. They have no idea. Like, the guests don't see a time. They don't see no time warp. Mm-hmm. They're like, what are you talking about? It's only visible to the hosts. So at the end of the day, you see a pile up off a cliff of all these hosts committing suicide, but their afterlife is this time warp that they're free of everything. Nothing could hurt them. It's sunny. It's green. It's a lot of grass, hills. It's what everything wanted to, and that was a very nice scene. To basically end that portion of that show. But lastly, we get to the end. After the credits are done, this is going to be the last segment here. Black Hat William coming down to what we think is some sort of futuristic part that we will know in season 3. He meets up with his daughter again, who is a host now. Right. And then we get in, and then he's like, "Where am I? We have no idea." And she's like, "What are you talking about? You should know where you're at." And there's an elevator for him to be safe, but it takes him all the way straight down to, an unknown futuristic room where he's never seen before. To me, we know that the daughter is a host, and it's futuristic. So this is way after everything has happened. So we'll see what happens, and then she's questioning him about fidelity. So we'll see. I think it's really interesting. It was a nice twist of things. Reminds me of how it was when young William was talking to James Delos, and they were in the same exact room. So
and he didn't have any idea what was going on.
Exactly.
Same thing. Mm-hmm.
So it kind of like relates to that. Now the daughter's trying to interview him about fidelity, and I'm like, oh wow. So, but yeah, that's basically the gist of the first and second season. We're looking forward to season 3. Gina, real quick, any last thoughts before we take off?
You have to pay attention. Definitely have to pay attention during this. but it's on HBO, and why not, right?
Exactly.
It's great entertainment. It's really captivates your interest, and I'm really looking forward to season 3.
All right. And anything else you'd like to say to the people out there before we head off?
I just wanted to say thanks everybody for supporting us during the quarantine, and hopefully, we'll get back to normal soon. Just keep the faith, everybody, and stay safe.
All right. Well, Gina, thank you so much for being on the show again. Ladies and gentlemen, she will be back on tomorrow as well. I want to discuss, first half of the show, and discuss some things about the NHL news real quick. That'll be for the first segment. And then for the second segment, we have a couple of things in store. So just be ready. Stay tuned. She will be back as usual tomorrow. I hope everyone has a great day. Gina, thanks again.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your day.